I was quite enjoying the conversation which was happening just now, because I guess this is a debate that carries on in most educational institutions in this day and age, especially the newer ones. I think the newer institutions which are looking at learning and looking at teaching in a very different way, because let me tell you, the millennial generation, not that they were not interested in learning, but they may not like the way they're taught. I think that's that big debate or discussion that we keep having. But anyways, I'm sure we can carry on the conversation going forward. Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. I'm sure you're looking forward to the day's proceedings, but before that, I just wanted to maybe spend about 10 minutes talking about my university, which I proudly represent. It's the BML Munjal University. On the outskirts of Gurgaon, not as far as Milan, but sometimes it might take as long to reach Gurgaon as well. So our university was founded by the founder of the Hero Group, Mr. Vishal Munjal. He's somebody who had been a visionary. He's obviously someone who not only believed in the power of the youth, but also believed in their ability to take this nation forward. Very humble beginnings for him, and someone who used to work at an army ordnance factory a long time in pre-partition India. And post that, he built up Hero Cycles, and he built up Hero Motorcorp, and that's the world's largest manufacturer of motorbikes now. He was the one, his vision, he wanted to establish a university. Of course, the Hero Group and the Munjals are not new to education. The Dayanand Medical College in Ludhiana is one of the largest medical colleges and hospitals in India, and the Munjals and the Hero Group are very closely involved in that. Our Chancellor, Mr. Sunil Munjal, he's very closely involved in the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad and Mohali. And of course, there are other educational establishments beyond what we lovingly call as BMU. So, Vishal Munjal University, shortly referred to as BMU. We're about 4 years old. Our aim is obviously to be rather research-led, but teaching and learning focused. And we believe that's a definite niche that is wanting in a country like ours. Where the focus is on the learning, the focus is on the teaching, and the focus is on an inquiry-based approach to learning, an experiential-based approach to learning, which helps in many ways. It helps in better immersion, it helps in better identity, it helps in more confidence, it helps in a more readiness or a ready approach to being able to tackle a lot of world's problems. The reason why I talk about problems is because a lot of us at this moment are not very clear about what the world will look like in about 5-10 years' time. Whether in terms of jobs. A lot of jobs that exist now will not exist in the future. The jobs that exist now will not exist in the future. So it's quite a difficult time period. So visioning something that is a little ethereal is quite difficult and challenging, and especially in an educational institution like ours, where you want the students not only prepare or learn or be ready for a job, but actually be ready for life, becomes all the more difficult. So, that's the kind of institution that I represent. We are focused on learning that is fun, engaging, globally relevant, and of course conducted by faculty that are being carefully selected and nurtured from some of the best educational institutions in India and abroad. And that's something that is very, very close to us, very, very important to us, and something that we take pride in having. For us, experiential inquiry-based learning is the norm, where the students are encouraged to be reflective. Somewhere deep within, there's a belief that the initial curiosity that a child has is sometimes lost in an environment where the focus has always been on being ready for a bit of a career, being ready for a resource-constrained society that we have largely been, or we're transitioning from, into a resource excess to society in the future. But a lot of focus has been on, like a gentleman before me was talking about, the package or the salary or the employment and so on and so forth. But I think if we start focusing on the learning, this whole element of being tough enough to be able to weather the storm, being able to be tough enough to weather, the job market becomes, an aspect, but not necessarily something where you always are focusing on. So for us, we have about 40% of our curriculum is very experiential based. Why do we believe in that? Because we believe that if you're more based on inquiry and experiential learning and outbound learning and a lot of activity-based approaches to learning, something that a lot of schools very well do, and I'm sure a lot of the schools that are here today, all the schools that are here today, do something like this rather well. Somewhere in the higher education system we tend to forget it, but our idea is to be able to reconnect, re-engage and rediscover a lot of things that may have happened in Gurukul times, but are some things that we kind of need to rediscover, and that's what we actually do. Some more specifics. Imperial College London is our mentor, and that's the place where a lot of our students actually have the opportunity to go. Singapore Management University is also one of our collaborators, and that's another place which engages very closely with us, whether that be for student immersion, whether that be for faculty training, whether that be for combined conferences, whether that be for innovation-related seminars. All these things are things that we do rather closely with our academic partners, and there are a number of other academic partners that we can talk of offline as well. We work with respectable organizations, let's say such as the KPMG, Shell, Siemens. Why do we work with them very closely? Because they are the ones who finally are the places where a lot of our students find themselves in. So it's best to get them with us during the learning period, time during the learning period, whether that be to design courses, whether that be to actually teach. So we have a course at the BBA level, which is the BBA KPMG course, and KPMG consultants themselves come along and train our students, give them more relevant information, give them more relevant knowledge. And this goes beyond the normal course curriculum that they're doing. So they're stretching themselves, our students. The reason why they're stretching themselves is because they also realize that a lot of our partners actually offer really good certification as well as learning going forward. On the anvil is our Incubation Innovation Center. So, the Hero Group, the family itself is rather closely connected to many of the startups and entrepreneurial ventures and even the ecosystem that exists right now. And it is important that we bring in that level of involvement into the university environment. So, because we focus on technology and management related courses, that level of knowledge, that level of learning, that level of commitment, and that level of aspiration to not just be a job consumer, but to actually be a job producer in the future exists. So we just want to, through our incubation center, our innovation center, hone that kind of skill. At the same time, just to give you an example why we're very involved with society and why we're very involved in value-based education, our MBA students, over the 2 years that they are with us, they actually adopt villages across the region. So for example, at Gujar, Gatal, there's a village very close to our university. They actually adopt the village for those 2 years. Why do they do it? It's not just because of social relevance or doing a good deed, but it's also being able to not only help improve the lives of a lot of people who are there. It could be based on skill, it could be based on education, it could be based on employment. But that also gives me an opportunity as Dean of the school to be able to help those students apply a lot of the principles of finance, management, strategy, leadership, in the daily lives or improving the daily lives of people there. So I think, when I talk about experiential learning, this is what the experience is. When I talk about the practicality of learning, this is what the practicality is. Apart from that, of course, we have a very, very strong mentoring program, training workshops. So, without wasting too much of your time, I would like to personally invite you over whenever you are in that part of the country, on the way to Jaipur for a holiday. You can always drop in. Even otherwise, I have a very efficient team of people here right now today who can also talk to you further about the opportunities that our students have, our selection criteria, our approach to the learning, so they can talk about it. I can talk to you offline as well. Please visit. I would strongly encourage you to visit. We have almost 40-45 acre campus just outside Gurgaon, just outside Manasa. It's contemporary, state-of-the-art, and it's all geared up to be able to provide the right kind of environment for good learning. We're a 100% residential campus, and we kind of insist on it as well, because then it not only helps me look at my role from a 9 to 5 perspective, but from a 24/7 learning perspective. Because I'm not just interested in the 40% or the 45% of the time they spend in the class, but I'm interested in the 50-55% of the time that they spend outside the classroom, but which, if used effectively, can create a far more multidimensional individual. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any queries and questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, then we can ask. Yes, please.
I just want to know that do they get the opportunity to intern with some of the industry associated with the Munjal family? Is that something which comes to them, I mean, which is part of their program over there? Because I think what is really fascinating young children today going in for hiring, so much so even in school, is they all want the opportunity to intern in real life situations. So they are very attracted to universities which promise them,
Absolutely.
good internships, because unfortunately the Indian, neither the industry nor the community at large is open to allowing children to come for internships, school, or, I mean, when I say school, I mean students in 11th and 12th, because it often helps them also to decide what they want to do.
Well, for us, and thank you very much for asking that question. I think for us, internship or exposure to industries, to social service organizations, to other establishments is a part and parcel of the learning. So even at the undergraduate level, even from the first year, we actually have visits to industries, right? So whether that be hero, whether that be non-hero. So for us, it's not just about Hero has a gamut of organizations. Yes, whether it's Hero FinCorp, whether it's Hero Future Energies, whether it's Hero Motors. All these people are very actively involved in providing internships, in providing immersion, and providing live projects. But it's a much larger gamut of organizations which also do the same, right? So for us, we call it practice school. So it's PS1, PS2, PS3. So they have all this in all the years of their studies with us. What you also have to remember is that students also get live projects. So these projects don't require students to necessarily spend a month or 2 months or 3 months in organizations, but they can actually do a lot of the work sitting in their campuses as well. They might go once a week, take some work, brief, make a presentation, come back. But these are live projects wherein, let's say, for example, are analytics students. A lot of the analytics students are doing, or finance students are doing a lot of wonderful projects, but sitting in their campuses, analyzing the data, being mentored by the particular faculty, but also being part of the practical learning. So as far as internships, immersions, to cut it long story short is concerned, that's predominantly a lot of our focus. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.